Welcome back to the Wellness Wire. My name is Eric.
And I'm Wade.
And this week we have a exciting episode. We are going to be sharing each individual's top 5 biggest myths of recovery. And then after that, we are going to debunk those myths and then categorize them on a top 10 based off of a ranking system. So we're going to shed some light on some common things that you might hear or you might think when you decide to get sober, and just kind of shed some light on the reality of the situation versus some of the myths or stigmas of what life is like when you decide to get sober. So we're just going to roll right into the top 5. We're going to do a snake type format, so like because we might have the same ones. So if we do have the same ones, we do have honorable mentions, so we can mix and match them. And I came prepared. We're gonna flip a coin to see who gets to start off with their top 5. Call it in the air.
Tails never fails.
It's tails.
Never fails.
So we'll get going. Wade first.
All right. I also came prepared. I just do it on my phone. But myth number 1: people must hit rock bottom to recover.
Ooh, that's a good one. We're starting off hot. Okay. So that's locked in at number 1. I think for my number 1, I am going to go with I'll only be able to date / hang out with people who are sober.
That's fire.
So that's going to be my number 1.
Okay.
And then it's a snake, so I also get number 2.
Yep.
And I think for my number 2, I'm going to go with everyone who is sober is working a 12-step program.
Okay. I see what you did there. Mine kind of correlates with that, so might be a good topic. Which is treatment is a one-size-all-fits solution.
One size fits all solution.
One size fits all. One size fits all. And then I'm going to go back on my snake here, and I'm going to say myth: people in recovery cannot be trusted.
Ooh. Okay. Those are both good ones. For number 3 on my list, it's going to kind of go around the same idea of like treatment is a one-size-fits-all, but my number 3 is going to be treatment centers / sober livings are only in it for the money and they cannot help you recover. So that's my number 3. And then my number 4 is I'll have to avoid places that serve alcohol.
Okay.
That's my number 4.
We can definitely go into a lot of detail on that. With myth number 3, that is for me, or I guess myth number 4, is recovery only focuses on quitting substances.
Okay.
And then for my 5th, and to round it out, addiction is a choice, so recovery should be easy.
Ooh. Okay. My number 5 here. My number 5, I'm kind of teeter-tottering between 2 of them, but I think I'm going to lock in another alcoholic addict can't help me because they are not professionals. I think I'm going to go with that one.
Okay.
So give me a second. I gotta order up which ones I did here. Okay, so let me do a quick recap to put my top 5 in the order that I chose them. So for my top 5 myths, my number 1 was you can only date or hang out with people who are sober. My number 2 was everybody who is sober is working a 12-step program. My number 3 was treatment centers or sober livings are only in it for the money. They don't really want to help you. My number 4 was you have to avoid places or situations where alcohol is involved. And my number 5 was not thinking that another alcoholic or addict in recovery can help you and only professionals can help you.
And then for my 5, I have myth number 1, you must hit rock bottom to recover. Myth number 2 is people in recovery cannot be trusted. Myth number 3 is treatment is a one-size-all-fits solution. Myth number 4, recovery only focuses on quitting substances. And myth number 5, addiction is a choice, so recovery should be easy.
All great ones that we're going to debunk and dig into, but can we just first acknowledge that Wade has not says one size fits all correctly the entire episode.
I did too.
He just said one size all fits.
I did not.
Yes, you. Oh, it's on camera. It's on camera. Okay. So yeah, let's just get into it. Real quick, we'll just we'll hit all of the ones and kind of just like do a little debunking, which is just sharing from our experience why they are myths and they're not true. And then after that, we'll just have to go down the list and collectively we're gonna rank them 1 through 10 on a top 10 type list. And to start out, and why I chose my number 1 is I think everybody, whether you're in treatment and you're thinking about going to like outpatient, or like even if you're just kind of thinking to yourself, maybe I should cut alcohol or weed or anything out of my life, and you're kind of curious about what that looks like being sober, immediately your mind goes to, I'll only be able to hang out with sober people, or like I'll only be able to date sober people. And you'll have to like completely wipe out your entire friend list and everything and start over with all brand new people. And that's just such a huge myth, right? Just because you're making a decision in your life to live a sober lifestyle, whether you're an addict, alcoholic in recovery, or whether you're just somebody who wants to live a sober lifestyle, it's so not true that you have to just cut everyone else off that's not sober in your life and only hang out and do things with sober people.
That's completely accurate. I mean, I would say just off my personal experience. Now, in the first year of your sobriety, yes, hang out with a lot of people who are doing sober activities, who are doing fun things sober, so you know how to learn to be sober while you're doing things with other people. You're going to get used to saying something stupid and having to sit in that for a second. You're having to learn how to go to places and not be in line to have a drink or do those types of things. But over a period of time, you're going to learn how to handle all these people, places, and situations and be totally okay with who you are as a person, where having a drink or a drug just doesn't seem appetizing for you anymore. And when that takes place, you're able to hang out with all the regular people you used to hang out with. It's just no longer your identity. You're no longer someone who drinks or uses drugs, and you can be just as good of a time and remember it the next day and still stick to your routine and show up for other people. You can make the whole situation not about yourself, but how you can show up and be there for others. And it becomes an incredible thing that a lot of people enjoy having you around to their situations and their family functions, etc., because you're the sober guy.
Yep, 100% true. So then you will go down to your number 1 myth, or we'll just do them individually. So I'll go down my whole list, and we'll go down your whole list. My number 2 was that a huge myth as well is everyone who is sober is working a 12-step program. And I think a lot of people's heads, that's where they go to, right? Because if you're not familiar with sobriety or even recovery, like your mind just goes to AA. You're like, oh, if somebody is sober, they're in AA. But in 2025, this modern world, there are sober communities all over the place that are all taking different approaches to it. And you'll find that not everybody who's sober is in a 12-step program. I mean, dude, just off the top of your head, you have programs like Smart Recovery, Recovery Dharma. There's specific programs popping up for like LGBTQ communities. There's the Phoenix app, which is an entire app of a community of sober people doing sober things that has no affiliation to a 12-step program or anything of that nature. They're just simply communities of sober people who want to network and connect with each other. So huge myth that's completely not true is if you want to be sober, you have to be in a 12-step program.
Yeah, I mean, people find recovery in many different ways, and people find their levels of recovery through a lot of different avenues. Some people want to be sober. Some people want to just stop using crack cocaine and be able to drink like a normal person. And though we find that more often than not, that doesn't work for a lot of people. I heard it on a podcast actually just yesterday where somebody was talking about Mario and Luigi. Is when people are getting sober, your job is to be Luigi and they get to be Mario. They're the main character in their story, and you're just there to support them wherever you can support them. Now, I've seen people get sober in Smart Recovery, Recovery Dharma, and some other things. I'll never not talk about the way I got sober, which was through a 12-step program, and that's a way that I find the most success with the people who actually do it. But I would say it is a myth to say that is the only way you can get sober. There are plenty of people we know who go to, Celebrate Recovery, or they just start going to church. Whatever it is that you get into, you have to find some spiritual way of living that makes it less about you and the selfishness that is internal and more about how you can contribute to the world, and you're going to have success.
Yeah, 100%. Number 3 myth on my list is treatment centers, sober livings are only in it for the money. They don't want to really help you because their business model is dependent on you relapsing and continuously coming back, right? And you hear that so much. I used to take admissions calls for sober livings for like a year straight, and every day I would talk to 10 to 15 people that were looking to get into sober living, and a lot of the time that is a huge stigma, right? Is they don't really want to help my loved one, or they don't really want to help me because they want to keep me in this addiction so that it feeds their business model. And it's just simply not true. Now that we have a treatment center and we have so many wonderful partners in the valley, and we just keep expanding our own operation, most of the time when you go into a treatment center, everybody, the BHTs, everybody, they're in recovery themselves. And because somebody made an impact on them when they were in treatment, they want to reciprocate that, and it's a passion for them to help people find lasting recovery. And I think that more often than not, these programs really do want to help you and help you recover, and they don't want to see you continuously come back. So I think that's a huge stigma, huge myth about recovery industry in general, is that they don't want to actually help, and it's just simply not true.
Yeah, I hear it all the time as an owner in sober living and a treatment center, and the reality of this disease is people go back out. I took it way too personal for a long period of time when somebody would show back up at our doorstep that we failed them and that I failed them personally. And I understand that the nature of this disease, just sometimes people are going to go back out. That is not something that I would ever want to happen because I know the destruction that is in that wake. And the other reality of this business is that Big Pharma is creating enough addicts and alcoholics, and the alcohol industry and tobacco industry and porn industry and all of these are creating enough compulsive behaviors out of people where I don't want to see people back. I know the destruction that happens when people are out there using and drinking and breaking up families and all that type of stuff. I'm actually super hurt when I hear somebody relapsed and is having to go back through it, and when they come back in, I'm grateful that we got them back into a safe place so their family and everybody else can not worry about them for the next 30, 60, 90 days. But at the end of the day, it is not some big money making scheme. It actually costs a lot of money to put yourself out there and to try to help these people out. And on the back end, do you get some reward for that? Absolutely. But if I could tell you the number of times that I had my head in my hands in a dark room, just figuring out how I can keep helping people and keep this thing going, it isn't as appetizing as people would like to think. But I am super grateful to do it, and I do believe it is my purpose to help these people, and we'll continue to do that.
Yeah. And then number 4 is I'll have to avoid places that serve alcohol because I just won't be able to go there anymore, right? You think, oh, just now that if I get sober, I won't be able to go to baseball games, or I won't be able to go to concerts or raves or whatever it is that you like to do. And you have this idea in your head that if you get sober, you'll have to just avoid those places completely and cut them out of your life. And well, it is true that I would recommend if you're newly sober to not put yourself in those environments, especially if like your thing was you'd go to raves and you're rolling, or like if your thing was you'd go to football games and you're drinking. Like those aren't necessarily good environments to be in like when you're just starting your sobriety journey. But you'll find that, and at least for me, it's like when you get sober, and I work a 12-step program, and you build a good foundation on your life in recovery, you'll be able to go anywhere a free man can go, as long as you have a good reason to be there. And that's just a huge myth as well, is you'll just have to stop. I can't go to bachelor party, or I can't go on this vacation, this cruise with my family, or like whatever it is. And it's just simply not true. Like you can do all the things that anybody else can do sober.
Yeah. You had said it so well about 2 weeks ago when we had met for our podcast, where you said you can do all the exact same things you did before. This time you're just not drinking, or this time you're just not using. Yeah. And it's so true. I mean, a majority of our activities we do are going to games, are going to friends' houses, are, going to restaurants. But I relate to those feelings. For the longest time, I didn't want to go to a Starbucks, or I didn't want to go to a Chipotle, or because I used to use Starbucks straws to smoke heroin, right? I used to use Chipotle tinfoil on the burrito as tinfoil. You used to know
all the gas stations with the cleanest bathrooms where they were single bathrooms that you could lock the door.
So all those things, and for a while did I stay away from them, and maybe for the first time back at those places did some of those memories arise, but I don't have to live like that. It's not something I have to fear today in being in those situations. Now, do I understand myself good enough these days to realize, do I have any business being in Old Town Scottsdale till 2 a.m. or 3 a.m.? No, I don't, right? But that's not going to stop me from going out and enjoying a game if I have other friends and a good reason to be there. But I'm also not going to go there to hang out by myself to meet friends, you know?
No, 100%. And then my last one, number 5 on the list, is another alcoholic or addict in recovery can't help me. Only a professional can help me get sober. And I think that is just so false, right? Because there's evidence-based, it's based in evidence, I should say, that the peer support model is highly effective. And essentially all that is somebody who has lived experience as an alcoholic, as an addict, who has found long-term sobriety, their ability to reach somebody in active addiction and relate to them, and then offer them suggestions on how to build a life in recovery is so effective, right? And it's like, that's the whole premise of what sober livings and treatment centers and stuff are built upon. Like, is there clinical help? 100%. Yes, there's licensed therapists, there's clinicians that can offer professional help, psychiatrists with different medications. There's professionals that can help you, but that doesn't discredit the value or effectiveness of just one alcoholic addict helping another.
Without a doubt. It's the most beautiful thing to see people who have gone through this disease and they actually have doctorates in overcoming addiction versus just the doctorate that they got from school and reading about it. And it goes as simple as saying, if you had a plane that you had to get on to go on a long flight and there was a mechanical issue with it, do you want the person who actually puts planes together, who actually has all the mechanical knowledge because they're working on planes each and every day? Or do you want the guy who has a degree in mechanical engineering to fix this plane for you. I want the guy who's actually been in the trenches, who's worked on planes before, who knows what they're going to see. You know, this screw needs to be here and this gasket has to be tightened here, versus someone who's read a bunch of books on it. Not that there isn't a place for those people and they help in the different therapy and medical aspects that they're very much needed for, but they're just part of the process, and there's no one who can reach another addict and alcoholic like someone who's been through that and actually understands what they are going through and the different stages, what it feels like, you know, that they have to get high again, or that they're not going to be able to do these fun things, and being able to be on the other side of that and show them the way out is a really beautiful experience in recovery.
100%. So let's roll into your top 5.
All right, so myth number 1, you must hit rock bottom to recover. We hear people say this time and time again is, I don't know if he's hit his rock bottom yet, or I don't know if she's hit her rock bottom yet, or I don't know what else it's going to take for them to get sober. And the reality of this disease is that you hit rock bottom when you stop digging. The last time that I had gotten sober after trying so many different times, it wasn't the worst my life has ever looked. On the outside anyways, right? Still had a job, still had a place to live, still had people who cared about me. In other times I was homeless, I was holding signs for money, I was doing all of these other things. But spiritually I was in a place where I was just dead inside, and I didn't know if I wanted to keep going on. And it was a different type of rock bottom. And all it starts is with one day of saying, I don't want to get high anymore, I just need some help. And we see it time and time again where there's so many people out there who don't feel like they've hit the rock bottom. They don't feel like it's gotten bad enough. And to that I just say, you know, it's the same thing again with the New Year's resolutions. Is you said you were going to start on January 1st. You said you were going to start on January 2nd or January 3rd. And yet you're sitting on the sidelines hoping that one day life is just going to get better for you. And it's not. The only time it's going to get better for you is when you get off the bench and you get in the game of life and you ask for some help and you let other people help you through this process, because you do not have to do it alone.
Yeah, and it's funny too, because it's like that idea of like, oh, I'm not that bad yet, or oh, it's not that bad yet. That's the thing, the one thought that's gonna keep you sick, right? Is the idea that I'm not that bad yet. And then what at least for me is like, when I'm in active addiction and I'm just deep into alcoholism, that's the number one lie I tell myself is, oh, it's not that bad yet. I still have my job. I still have this, right? And then I think to myself, I won't have to go get help until everything falls apart, right? And that concept is just so not true. And a lot of the time is if you think you have a problem, you have a problem. Right? Like, if nobody who isn't an alcoholic or addict or doesn't have a problem with drinking is thinking to themselves they might have a problem. So if you think you have a problem, you do have a problem, and you don't have to wait until it's absolutely burn your life to the ground to like get help.
Without a doubt. Myth number 2, treatment is a one-size-fits-all solution. I said it earlier when we were talking about your myth, but treatment is not a one-size-fits-all solution. People are individuals with individual experience, and with an individual experience, they have a different route towards recovery that they're going to have to take than other people. Some people have trauma. 90% of people have codependency that we see in the treatment center. There's not going to be a one-size-fits-all solution for everybody. What we need to do is take the individual, have an individual treatment plan for you, and when we get you on that road, it's going to look different. You might need 3 counseling sessions a week. You might need family counseling. You might need trauma therapy. You might need more medical issue help because your disease has put you in a place where medically you're not even in a place to get sober. Mental illness, all of these types of things. So it's definitely a myth when I hear, oh, treatment's a one-size-fits-all solution and you're just going to give me this cookie-cutter program that's supposed to get me sober.
Yeah, 100%. And it does kind of piggyback off of like the whole myth of like everybody who's sober is in a 12-step program, because like you said, most of the time when people become addicted or they become an alcoholic, it's because they're self-medicating a deeper problem, right? And it's like they always say drugs and alcohol aren't the problem, right? And so to think that like every treatment center is going to try the exact same thing to help you and that there's only one singular answer is just simply not true.
Myth number 3, people in recovery cannot be trusted. While in active addiction, there is a ton of integrity and manipulation issues. What I can say with absolute truth is people in recovery can be the exact opposite of that. Sometimes they're the most integrity-filled and honest people that you're going to meet. And it is so cool when you see someone who couldn't be or who was manipulative and couldn't be trusted with anything. And I see it all the time where they come in and they say, hey, they gave me the keys to the shop. They gave me the keys to open up the restaurant. You know, they trust me with the money that's there at the end of the night. And the beauty of this is so many people go through life and they don't have an opportunity to live a spiritual program. They don't have the opportunity to live with integrity. Now you have a program that's in front of you that is based on you being a good person and you having to look at yourself on a daily basis because your life depends on it. You will go out and you'll get high and you'll use again because that's the resentment that eats us up inside. So I would say that is 100% a myth. I see it time and time again where there are so many people who get the keys back to restaurants, who get, you know, the keys back to the house, who are trusted around their kids, and they know, hey, mom and dad aren't going to be drinking or using anymore. I don't have to worry about this guy taking drinks from the bar. Yeah. He's going to be there, you know, sober, watching my other bartenders and stuff, and keeping an eye on them.
Yeah, and you hear it a lot where it's like, my parents are going out of town for the weekend and I'm watching their house, right? Like that would never happen when you're in like active addiction. But it is a beautiful thing to see when you decide, I want to get sober, I want to recover from my addiction, and you start doing the work that's required to build a solid foundation in sobriety, and you become a person of integrity, and you become a person who can be trusted. And like you said, a lot of the time, you know, those are some of the most trusted people in my life are recovered alcoholics and addicts.
100%. So myth number 4, recovery only focuses on quitting substances. This is an absolute myth. Although right away I think diagnosis number 1 is how do we get you to stop using substances to make yourself feel better, and how do we get you on a different path of life. But as anybody in recovery knows, it is a holistic approach that really concentrates on the physical, the mental, and the social well-being of each and every individual. And without you being in a better shape, a better place physically, a better mental state, sometimes people who have years of sobriety need to go see counselors and look at other traumas that have happened. And then socially, being able to be in different social interactions and not feel the need to use or drink and be okay with yourself. There is so much more to recovery rather than focusing on a substance, but it does start with how do you stop putting this thing in your body each and every day, and how do you start living your life on life's terms?
Yeah, abstinence is always the starting step, right? It's like, well, you got to stop using and drinking first, obviously, but you know, once you're like, you know, THC stays in the system for an average of about like 30 days. So let's just say once you're 30 days sober, removed from all substances in your life, you will never get more sober than that. It's not like being sober is exponential and it just keeps going. Once every last trace of substances is out of your body, you will never get more sober than that, but you still have an entire lifetime worth of life to live. And that's what recovery really focuses on, is how are you going to build a life that's meaningful and purposeful, where you don't feel the need to seek that external stuff in you know, substances and stuff. So huge myth is that it's just about not drinking and using. It's so much more than that.
Which leads me into myth number 5. Addiction is a choice, so recovery should be easy. If it was as easy as just choosing to do the right thing, your loved one, yourself, everybody would choose that every single time. Unfortunately, it is not. The disease of addiction is a complex disease which attacks people from all aspects of life. It does not discriminate on who it attacks, right? People from all social and economical statuses all struggle with addiction, and it is a complex disease that has trauma, codependency, and so many other things involved in it. What I can tell you with absolute certainty is that addiction is not a choice, because no one would choose this on themselves. So recovery, just like that, the only choice that's made is probably the first time you picked up a drug. The disease takes over from there. And with recovery, it's the first time you really put down that drug and you choose recovery for your life, where the recovery part can start. But you have to choose that every single day and back it up with all the work that it's going to take to get to live a life like that.
Right, yeah, and to think like, oh, like addiction is a choice. Well, it is. Addiction is not a choice, right? And it's like, and it's recognized as a disease, and just like any disease, you have to treat it. And treatment of a disease is never easy, regardless of what it is. And it's a difficult process to really take a look at your life and look at all of those like ugly like things that you try to hide away within yourself, and find a way to address those things within you, and so that you can live a more free, happy life. But it's a difficult process. It's not easy to go through and address all that emotional baggage and everything else that comes with addiction, and then restructure your entire life to fit into a way so that you can live with lasting sobriety. So no, it's not an easy process.
And not only that is, not being an easy choice is you have one choice that can lead you back to ruining your entire life.
Yeah.
If you make one wrong choice, not 3 wrong choices, not 4 wrong choices, not 5 wrong choices, right? You make one bad decision on a tough day to pick up or use, and not only could it be your life, or it could be you on another run that we don't know when we're going to get you back.
Yeah, so it is a slippery slope. Let's get into ranking all of these into a top 10. There's a lot of good ones here. I think the number one myth would probably be you have to hit rock bottom. I think that is the number one stigma myth of recovery, is people who aren't around it, who don't have a good understanding of it, that's instantly where their mind goes. So would you agree with that?
I would 100% agree.
All right, we're going to put rock bottom as number one. What are we thinking for number 2?
I really like your number 1 for number 2.
Yeah, you can only date / hang out with people who are sober. That's a huge one. That is a huge one. Number 3, I'd like to go with you have to avoid places or situations, that have alcohol or other substances. Number 4.
I would say the 4th biggest myth is that addiction is a choice, so recovery should be easy. You hear a lot of people say just choose differently.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, just stop.
Just stop.
Just stop.
Just
It's a morality issue.
you can will yourself out of this.
Yeah.
You just have to choose differently.
Okay. Yeah, I think for number 5, I would say that treatment centers are only in it for the money, or like the recovery industry is only in it for the money. I think that is a good number 5.
The goal is just to keep people sick.
Yeah. Number 6, just good one. I think for number 6, I would say everybody who's sober works a 12-step program.
You hear a lot.
I would say that. What are you thinking for number 6?
I like that for number 6.
Okay.
And then for number 7, I really like that people in recovery can't be trusted.
Yeah, I would say that's a good number 7. That's a good number 7 there. Number 8, I think we could put the one size fits all. Say it for us.
One size fits all.
Look at that. Okay. And for number 9, what do we have left here?
We have recovery only focuses on quitting substances, and
addicts, alcoholics can't help me, only professional help. I think the abstinence. I think that's a good number 9 there. and then we'll round it out with the addicts, alcoholics can't help. So that's a good top 10 there. And you know, guys, obviously we're ranking, we rank these just based off of our lived experience as being two individuals who are in recovery ourselves, and then also as, you know, professionals in the industry of treatment. We both work in treatment, obviously, with Plugged In Recovery, so we see it from both sides, our own personal lived experience as well as our experience with working in a 30-day substance use treatment environment, as well as the operations of sober living homes.
And I would say, guys, if you have some that are on your list that you would like us to talk about in a later episode, if you want us to debunk something else that you hear often, let us know. Let us know in the comments. Let us know if you disagree with our order and if you'd rank them in another way. We want a little bit more user experience where we're talking back and forth with you guys. So it's not just us as little talking heads talking about sobriety and recovery and all of these different things, but it is important. It is important to give a voice to recovery out there. It is important to break down barriers that are preventing people from getting sober, because they hear these myths about recovery out there and they don't want to be categorized with those people. And if you're having those thoughts, I've been there. Trust me, I've been there. But I promise you the other side isn't so bad.
Yeah, guys. So, like always, we appreciate all the support. Just a quick reminder to subscribe to the YouTube channel. That's some of the best ways to support us, is to subscribe, like, and interact with our content. And then also, don't forget, you can listen to us on Apple Podcasts or Spotify. And iHeart Podcasts. So anywhere that you listen to your podcast, add us to the rotation. Subscribe to be notified every time that we post. But we do appreciate it, guys. We hope this helped shed some light on some common misconceptions and stigmas of recovery. And we'll see you next episode.
See you next episode, guys. Perfect timing.
Oh, snap. It doesn't get much better than that. It doesn't get much better than that. Are you...